What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be finishing up a long overdue video on some ground control coilovers and some Bmr front and rear sway bars that I had installed some time ago. I was kind of procrastinating on putting out this video because I wanted to make sure that I had as much information as I could to offer up to everyone that's in the market for a new suspension system. As you will see in the video here, I was running a version 1 Roush coilover setup, but after putting on the 20-inch wheels with the 30 series tire, I realized that I kind of ran out of adjustment, and as you'll see, I had to make some modifications or some adjustments to make it possible to get to the ride height that I wanted to be at, which after doing so, it makes it a little bit more difficult to revert back if I ever wanted to raise the car back up. So I thought the best option would be to go with a different set of coilovers that offered a little bit more of a maximum drop. And so I chose to go with the ground controls. And after installing them, I realized that I was kind of in the same situation again. Now, instead of not being able to lower the car enough, I couldn't raise the car enough. The maximum drop with the ground controls is, at least with this kit that I got, was 3.5 inches. That's the maximum drop. The minimum ride height is 2 inches, which is perfectly fine because that's exactly where I want to be at. But again, if I ever decided that I wanted to revert back to a different wheel tire setup that might have been a little bit taller than what I'm currently running, I don't have that adjustability anymore. I'm maxed out at a minimum 2-inch ride height. So after doing some measuring and a little bit of brainstorming, I came to the realization that the springs that were offered with the ground controls were about 1 inch too short. As I said, the ground controls came with an 8-inch rear coil. The Roushes came with a 10-inch rear coil. Now again, the Roushes with a 10-inch coil was 1.5 inches maximum drop. With the ground controls 8-inch coil, the maximum drop was 3.5. So the only logical solution for me was to call ground control and order up 9-inch long rear coils. Now these are matched to the front. The front coils on the coilover setup. So these will work with my particular application and allow me now to have that adjustability. Now I'll be able to go down to a minimum drop of 2.5 inches with a maximum drop of 2.5 inches and a minimum drop of about 1 inch. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at with that. I've kind of been procrastinating on putting those in because I've had the suspension out so many times, and it's become quite a process that I'm just not really looking forward to doing again. But at some point when I have to do something back there, I'll get those swapped out. But I actually also wanted to mention that if you are in the market for a kit like this, I would highly recommend getting yourself or requesting these with the kit. These are metal washers or shims. These actually go in the middle of or sandwiched between the front spring and the camber plate, the bottom of the camber plate. The problem I was having is at slow turns, I was getting this creaking sound. It sounded like coil bind. Every time I would rotate the front tires, turn the front tires, it would make this noise. I called ground control on it, and they told me that they offered a little washer kit to isolate that. And basically what it's going to do is the spring is going to have something to rotate on. It's going to rotate on this washer instead of directly on the bottom of the camber plate. So I'm not sure why they don't offer this with the kit, but like I say, if you're going to get this kit, this coilover setup, make sure to request some shims for it. That'll should minimize. I haven't installed them yet. Again, I got to take the front suspension out to do that, so kind of been putting that off, but I'll get to it. But yeah, those are some of the things that I found, you know, after getting everything sorted out, and I just wanted to throw those into the video so that it, you know, when it comes to you purchasing, you know, some coilovers for yourself, you at least have some added information to make the buying process a little bit easier. But yeah, for me, that was the only option. And I think once I get this all sorted out, I should be right where I want to be. I'll have that versatility that I was looking for from the get-go. So let's go back a little bit. We'll dive into this video and I'll show you the kit, and at the end I'll give you a little bit of a walk around. Alright, so this is the new suspension here. As you can see, I've got the rear shocks or dampers and the new coils, rear coils. The one thing I'll point out, and I really like about this new setup, is it actually comes with an isolator already pre-installed with the in between the spring and the adjustable spring perch. So you don't have any metal to metal contact, which sometimes can cause some added noise in the rear, a little creakiness or whatnot. So that should minimize that a bit. The other thing is that this has got a 5-coil spring versus a 6-coil spring. So right out the gate, probably actually the way those spring perches are set from the factory, is probably at about a 2.5-inch drop right now if I was to install them like that. So we'll have to make some minor adjustments to that to get it to where I want it to sit. And then here's the front suspension. Very nice setup here. Comes already installed on it the Camber caster plates. On the Roush's, I had to install the Maxim Motorsports caster camber plates for added adjustability. You'll see here they also give you a little bag with some adjusters for your valves, and if you see right here on the inside, there's on this bag there's some little inserts. They basically go right inside the inside this opening here, and you can either have the shock centered or have it with a positive or negative camber, depending on what insert you put in here right out the gate. You know, so you only have to make minor adjustments to your camber caster camber plate up on the top once you get them installed. So probably what I'm going to do is put the negative camber in it, and then if I need any positive, I can just make those adjustments from the top. Maybe even the neutral insert, which is just basically has it centered off. That just keeps this in one position so that you don't have they're going to basically be matched on both sides. But yeah, really nice kit so far. If it performs as well as it looks, I should be in for a real treat here. There's the Bmr Rear Sway Bar. Comes with new bushings and mounts. I believe that is a 35 millimeter. Or no, I'm sorry, this is the front bar, 35 millimeter. And the rear bar, which is 25 millimeter. And it comes with its own hardware as well, new bushings and brackets. So, but yeah, we'll get it all installed here and give you a little bit of my first impression. I'm not really expecting a huge difference as far as the performance. The Roush's did a very good job in making the car handle 10 times better than what it did when I had the iBox Pro Kit and stock springs or stock shocks and and even the performance pack. It was kind of like gradual steps, but this car feels a lot more flatter in the turns. There's no nosedive, and it really does handle very well. So I don't really think I'm going to see a huge difference by going to the ground controls. Again, I'm not doing it more or less for the performance of it, but more or less for ease of adjustment and also to have some of the dampening capabilities. But this is basically the way the car is sitting right now. This is what I'm hoping to achieve with the new setup. I got to take some measurements of where my setup is sitting at right now, and then kind of make it match the ground controls. But yeah, I think the only big difference that I might notice is maybe is with the upgraded sway bars. There might be a little bit of a difference there, and probably some comfort, because again, I'll be able to adjust the dampening of the shocks now, so that, you know, maybe with the ride height that I'm at right now, it might give me a little bit more ride comfort, but we'll see. Alright, so I got the rear suspension removed and the rear sway bar as well, and although this video is not intended to be a overall comparison video performance wise, I do want to just show you a little bit of a difference between the two, and show you exactly what I had to do to get the look that I was looking for and the reasoning behind me swapping them out in the first place. Just so that you know, if you're out there looking for a coilover system, you can make a decision on which one is going to be right for you. But you know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I had to remove the on the Roushes to get the extra ½ inch or so that I had. I needed to get my tire to kind of sit, you know, right in the fender like I wanted it to, and get a nice lowered stance. I had to remove this spring perch and put in its place this isolator. As you can see, well, actually I'll take this one off and I'll put the adjuster back on. You can see just by putting that spring, removing that spring perch and putting this isolator in its place, I probably got about a ½ inch more in the lowering of the car by doing that. Worked for now, but if I ever decide that I want to change out my tires or take it to the track and I need a little bit more travel in my suspension, you know, as I mentioned before, I'd have to lower the whole IRS subframe and reinstall the spring perch. Whereas now, I'll just have to raise the car up, make some minor adjustments on the adjustable spring perch, and be done with it. So yeah, so that's basically, you know, where I'm at right now, and just a little comparison between the two. You can see, you know, there's already, you know, a difference in overall height, you know, I mean, between the two coils. You know, one's a 6 and one's a 5. So, you know, right out the gate, this thing's, you know, I think I mentioned it before, this is, you know, about 2½ inches right now, all bottomed out. So I'll have to make some adjustments on this, you know, measure up with the isolator, with this Roush isolator, on the Roush coil and the isolator. I'll have to measure it up with this ground control one and get the right height, so when I install this, it sits basically where it was before, either close or right on the money. But if I take some measurements, I should be able to achieve that relatively easily. So yeah, so I'm going to put these in, get the rear sway bar, and I'll show you a little bit of a side shot after they're installed. But also to mention, if you can see in here, something else that might be beneficial to anybody that's going to be upgrading their suspension or whatnot. I have put in the Steeda stabilizer bushings for the IRS subframe and the alignment kit. You can see that. Where is it? There you are. The alignment pins. These go right up inside the IRS, right between the bushings, and it just kind of makes it a little bit easier to install, and did help out a little bit with the wheel hop. I think the putting the new suspension in there helped out a little bit too. But yeah, it definitely, you know, helps to stabilize things a little bit more. And let's see here. I'll also show you the little bit of a comparison between the two sway bars here. You can tell there's a little bit of a difference in overall diameter. Again, this is the rear sway. It's a 25 millimeter. I'm not sure what they use at stock. Maybe 19 or it might be like a 19. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you can tell there's, you know, so that should help a little bit, you know, with probably the body roll and just the overall handling of the car. So I'm going to get this installed, and yeah, and then we'll move on to the front. All right, so as you can see, I got the rear suspension in. For anybody that doesn't know, this type of coilover system, and it's offered on a lot of other manufacturers out there for the S550. This is an unmarried setup, as they call it, meaning that the rear spring and damper are two separate pieces. Your spring sits right down in the IRS subframe cradle, and then you have a separate shock. Some manufacturers, some of your real high-end manufacturers, the more pricier ones, they'll actually have a what they basically call it's a full coilover system, where it's the spring and the shock are all one unit, and most of the time, if not all the time, they require some modification to the upper strut or shock mount. You have to put like a bracket up there so that you can mount it to it. And but I chose to go with the standard coilover system for the S550. You know, using the rear cradle for the spring, just because I didn't want to run into any clearance issues or whatnot. You know, I'd like to run a fat tire on here, and if you go with one of those types of setups where it's a full coilover, you might run into some clearance issues just because you're going to have the coil spring's going to be sticking out a little bit further. You know, I mean, you're going to have a lot more mass right here in this area versus just this, you know, shock. So, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind when you're shopping around for them too. You know, depending on what your wants and needs are. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So get this buttoned up, and we'll move on to the front. All right, so I got the front sway bar and front suspension out. I'd like to note just real quickly here that if you plan on doing any type of suspension upgrade on the front specifically, I highly recommend doing the sway bar at the same time. Just because from what I experienced, it seemed like it was a lot more efficient to remove the front struts and then removing the front sway bar. I tried doing it initially without taking the struts out, and it seemed almost next to impossible to do it. So I had to remove them anyways to put the new ground controls in. So I did that first, and it seemed to come out relatively easy. The main problem is that the brackets on the front factory sway bar don't come off. So it was a little bit trickier to try and maneuver it through there, but it might be able to have a little bit more luck getting the BMR in there, because I can put the brackets on after I get it positioned correctly. So, but yeah, I highly recommend probably just if you're going to be doing any spring swap or strut swap or coilover, airbag, whatever it is, and it requires you to take the front struts out to do your sway bars at the same time. The rear is no problem. That you can do at any time. But I mean, obviously, if you're going to be doing both, you know, one, why not do the other? But yeah, so but I just wanted to give you a quick run through here. you know, just on what we got going on here now. This is just kind of a quick little comparison between the two. Not a huge difference. It's probably a few millimeters. I'm not sure what the factory front sway bar is, you know, the diameter of it, but you're looking at a 35 millimeter BMR. So and it's a little bit beefier. Should be, you know, help to stiffen that up a little bit more. And just a quick side-by-side comparison of the front strut coilovers. You can kind of see the Roush, you know, I mean, it's a very, very nice OEM, as I mentioned before, OEM replacement coilover system. I mean, it basically has the same exact design, other than it has an adjustable strut body, but you know, the spring, the way the coil, you know, the way the coil is, it's kind of, you know, designed the same way as the OEM, and it's got the Maxim Motorsport camber caster adjustments on it, camber caster plates. And then you got the ground control, which I showed you earlier. But just a quick little side-by-side there, just to show you the differences, you know, to just kind of, you know, minor differences, but basically the same concept here. So now I'm just going to get these installed and put the sway bar in first, of course, and then mount these up and give you a little run through once I get them installed. Alright, so as you can see, you got the front suspension in now. Came out real nice. I like the ground control red. I didn't mention it before, but you can actually get custom colors too. If you got a color in mind, they can powder coat it to whatever color you want. I chose the ground controls. I think this is one of their factory colors. Your ground control black and yellow, I think, and maybe orange. But yeah, you can get them custom colored if you want. I just chose this. I thought the gold and the red kind of look nice together. And as you can see, you got the Bmr front sway bar in there. I will say it was much easier, as I suspected, to get that in and out. I did it all by myself, sitting on jack stand, so it's totally doable. A little bit of patience, and you can snake it right through there. It was not a big deal, but yeah, came out nice. As you can see here on the top here, I got my adjusters there, and nice little polished plate there for the sandwiches the camber, bottom part of the camber plates together. And yeah, I think I also said, I mentioned earlier on, I don't know if you can see it, but the top bolt here, I ended up putting the negative camber insert in there. So right from the get-go, I already started off with a negative camber, and then I just made when I did the alignment, I had just made some minor adjustments up on the top. But yeah, it came out nice, and so I'll put everything back together, put the wheel back on, and we'll pull it outside, and I'll give you a little walk around. Alright, so as you can see, the suspension is complete. I've got it dialed in right where I want it to be. As I mentioned, I'm probably at about a 2-inch drop on all 4 corners. And I absolutely love the look of it. It's got a nice, flush appearance. As you can see, there is no wheel gap. I mean, it might look like it a little bit on the video here, but that's actually a little bit of a shadow. The tread is actually sitting right just inside the fender there, nice and flush. And this is exactly the look that I was going for, at least with the 20-inch wheel and 30 series tire. If you want, you can reference back to my P51 wheel install. And you'll see that when I was running the Roushes, you know, I had a little bit of a wheel gap, which I had mentioned in that video. I wasn't a fan of and was going to try and eliminate, which I have achieved with this new suspension setup. But I'm sure I'm going to get some comments asking about the ride quality, and I will tell you this right now, it really depends on what you consider to be comfortable. For me, this car, the way it sits right now, I could daily drive this car. That's my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that you know, the next guy or gal is going to consider this you know, acceptable. But you know, for me, if I chose to daily drive this, yes, I could daily drive this. It would not bother me one bit. You know, is it stiffer? Yes, it's stiffer. It's a little bit more abrasive, you know, going over bumps, but that's kind of to be expected when you start doing stuff like this. You know, I have the settings on the dampening set to a little bit harder of a setting, so it's a little bit, you know, a little bit stiffer, and it's lower too. So, you know, that's going to play a big part in, you know, the overall handling of the car. But, you know, again, I did these modifications to make the car perform and handle better than it did when it was in stock form. So, you know, those are kind of some of the give and takes, you know, you're going to have to deal with when you start doing this kind of stuff. So, yes, for me, it is daily drivable and completely acceptable. That doesn't mean that the next person is going to agree. So you really have to kind of figure that out for yourself, and you know, ultimately see what you want and in your car. So but that's it for now. I appreciate you all staying with me. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more content. I'm going to be doing a little bit of an exterior upgrade or modification, if you will, in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. And again, thanks for watching.